Hello and welcome to Watch My Pipe. My name is Kurt. Thanks for tuning in. It's Saturday, so that means we're doing the full review for Peterson's Irish Oak. But first, as always, we're going to do a quick wrist check. Today I'm wearing my blue Tudor Pelagos. It's a watch that I really love. It's a bigger watch. It's about 43 millimeters, a little hefty, but when it comes to the weight compared to the size, it's very light because it's made out of titanium. Going to be doing, in the next week or two probably, some more watch reviews, and this will probably be one of the first ones that I do because I've really liked this watch for quite some time, and I don't want you guys getting used to the fact and think that I wear Rolexes all the time either. So today, again, we're getting into the full review for Peterson's Irish Oak, or otherwise known as Irish Cask. Again, the brand is Peterson, but it's manufactured by the Scandinavian Tobacco Group. It is a Virginia, but in some of the research I've done, I've seen a lot of other websites and people refer to it as a vapor, so we're going to get into that a little bit more today. The age of this tin, however, is unknown. I purchased this a while back. I found this, if you remember from the first impressions, at a cigar outlet, and they were having a sale, and I picked these up because I didn't recognize the name Irish Oak because it's Irish Cask now today. But the contents, again, also are possibly different, and again, we're going to do this today and go through some of the research I've done this week and kind of fill in the blanks here. But from what I've gathered so far for this tin, it has Virginia of Brazilian in Zimbabwe origin. Burley is Thailand. Dark Cavendish, unknown where from, and Louisiana Perique. The flavoring is listed as none or none detected. However, this mixture is aged and matured in oak sherry barrels, hence the oak. But again, we're going to get a little bit more into that. But first, getting to the tin description. There's two different ones, obviously because there's two blends. So if you have one of the older tins like I do here in the Irish Oak, this is what it says. It says a rich blend of Brazilian and African Virginia leaf with Cavendish and rare Louisiana Perique. Louisiana Perique. Can't talk today. Irish Cask, however, I don't have the actual tin, so I'm relying on what I found here on tobaccoreviews.com, and this is what it said. So for Irish Cask, a blend of Virginia leaves from Eastern Carolina, Malawi, and Brazil is mixed with a dark brown Cavendish tobacco. So a couple things there. The Virginia leaves are supposedly from Eastern Carolina. The Cavendish is listed, but Perique is not. So this week I did some research, and I'm going to put some of that up here now on the websites that I was able to try and dig hard into, because for whatever reason, it is very difficult to find information on the Peterson blend. So here we go. So start off with Scandinavian Tobacco Group purchased K&P Peterson Tobaccos about 3 years ago. Peterson at the time pretty much was only manufacturing aromatics, but the Irish Oak isn't really classified as an aromatic. It's still aged in oak sherry barrels, so there is a tendency for some people to have the flavoring come through. So we're gonna get into that. About a year later, STG closed the facility in Tucker, Georgia, where these blends are manufactured, and the production was moved to Denmark and the Dominican Republic. Now, from my research, and because my feelings on this really, in the European Union, and in some states even, for example, in Massachusetts, for example, you can't advertise flavored tobaccos. So I feel a lot of this had a lot to do with it in the changing of the name from Irish Oak to Irish Cask. But in any case, I couldn't find any evidence other than on the tin descriptions of the ingredients. So again, on the Irish oak tin that I have, it says Brazilian and African Virginia, but in some of the other research I did find out it was from Zimbabwe as well. But on the new Irish cask labels, it says Virginia from Eastern Carolina and no mention of Perique. You can go out and check it out on your own. Like I said, I spent days this week, hours really, just trying to find any information I could. STG has great information online when it comes to tobacco in general, where their pipe tobacco comes from, how it's manufactured. They've got great videos, but when it comes to KMP's product, when it comes to the older Peterson blends, very, very limited information to be found. Not like when you go to McBaron or to Greg's website, for example, for GLPs, where he's got great descriptions, Cornell and Deal even. You can go in and dig into really any blend that you want. But for whatever reason, it's very difficult to find any information on these tins. So, getting on with the review, let's get into the cut, which is a ribbon. So I got another separate video here that we're going to do. So let's jump over to that and take a look at the cut itself. Okay, so here we have the tin for Peterson's Irish Oak. But as you already know from the first impressions, there's nothing in the tin. I've already taken everything out and loaded it into this ball jar. So we're going to open this up. And again, we're going to take a whiff, and still has that sweet, bready aroma. Maybe a little bit of spiciness in the background, but overall, very, very sweet smelling blend. So let's pour this out here and take a look at the ribbon cut. And again, dive into the moisture a little bit more because, again, this was, again, probably the most perfect moisture content I've ever had in a blend. Give it a nice little pinch here, nice and firm, and it just falls apart in a slow manner that, for me at least, is perfect. So here's the cut. Here's what it looks like. Get your nice mahogany browns, a little bit more dark Perique and Cavendish in here. So let's get back to the review. Okay, so there you go. Where can you buy this blend? So it's pretty much available everywhere. But first up, we're going to take a look at one of my favorites, Watch City Cigar. They come in at $11.20. And again, I can't give these guys enough kudos. I just picked up and was delivered the other day. If you saw in the other video, a couple tins of My Mixture 965. I love these guys. I buy a lot of tobacco from them, even though sometimes they are a little bit more expensive. Cup of Joe's comes in next at $10.75. And then smokingpipes.com and tobaccopipes.com, want to make sure I didn't get that mixed up there, comes in at $9.99 each. The winner, and it seems to be week after week here a ongoing pattern, is Four Noggins coming in at $9.05. Now, as you noticed here in the pictures, usually I give the bulk 2-ounce and 8-ounce descriptions, and if it's available, to the best of my knowledge, STG seems to only make this in the 50 gram tins, which works out to roughly about 1.76 ounces. So before we head out to the studio and continue with the ratings, let's just go through the pipes that I used this week, and here they are. First up from the first impressions video is my Castello Estate Old Antiquary Freehand, my 7LE Eleganza Rusticated 622 KS, my Peterson Tankard, haven't used this in a while, Churchwarden. A newer pipe that I picked up is a Nording Bent Bulldog Smooth, my IMP Meerschaum Poker, and I'll get into a little bit more detail on that one here in a second. My Peterson system standard 302 T-lip, and again, the past two, the poker and the P-lip, I specifically pulled on purpose. And then today, when we go out to the studio, I'm going to use my Falcon Hunter Smooth Plymouth. So here it is. Going to load up a bowl here in a minute, and I'll meet you out in the studio. Okay, so we're out in the studio now, and we got this lit and ready to go. Got my Castello Tamper here. And in honor of the Peterson blend, I got my Peterson lighter going here. So the ratings, starting with the presentation. The overall tin art is, quite frankly, dull and boring. When you look at this here, I mean, there's really not much to this. When STG bought the rights to Dunhill a couple of years back, they really should have taken a note in what they were offering, because it's dull. It doesn't stand out. If you have someone coming into a tobacco shop, you need something that stands out. So what I did, just because I love the draw, I came up with my own concept art for it. So Peterson, if you're watching, hopefully you take this in. I'd seen some other interpretations of what you would consider a Irish person smoking, and combined a little bit all together to come up with my own concept here. So here it is. It's a nice little leprechaun, if you will, smoking a pipe with a barrel of what could be Irish cask. But getting on with the ratings, the overall tin moisture, again, was perfect. I probably, in all the times of all the tins that I've opened, I can't think of another blend that I opened and really pulled it out of the tin, put it in the ball jar, and didn't have to come back to it and let it sit for any amount of time. It's perfect. The tin note itself, again, let's crack this open one more time. Sweet, tangy, grassy, you know, all the things that you would expect in a vapor. The overall smoking characteristics. So when you first light the bowl, nothing really that stands out, more Cavendish forward, if you will. But as you go on through the bowl here, it starts to develop its sweetness, becomes a little bit more vaporesque, and then as you get down into the bottom of the bowl, you definitely get more of the burley hitting you in the back of the throat. It also goes into the nicotine. I'll just jump to that real quick, because this is not for beginners. This is a blend that's more for a more experienced smoker. The nicotine I would definitely characterize more in the strong or stronger, not overwhelming, but again, I'm more adept to nicotine, if you will. It doesn't hit me as harder or stronger as the average person, but I can definitely tell you, once you get about 15, 20 minutes in, if you're not feeling a little lightheadedness, I don't know what to tell you, because this is definitely one of the more stronger nicotine blends. The flavor from the sherry is barely detectable. Even now, I've been smoking this a little bit. I just don't. I get the burley, I get the Virginias, and the spiciness of the Perique and the retrohale. The taste overall, I would characterize as medium. I mean, there is a little bit of a fruitiness to it, if you will, and that could be because of the oak sherry barrels. But overall, this hits me more as a Virginia Perique, a vapor, or a Virginia Burley as you get further along. The complexity is very flavorful in the transitions and in the nuance going between everything. So I would definitely say it's definitely more of a complex blend, and It's something that you will enjoy. Again, depending on how long it burns, because I did find that this burned a little bit more quickly and a little bit more hot. Um, it's something that if you're not careful, it will definitely bite you. So if you can slow your cadence down a little bit, if you can sip on this a little bit more, you'll definitely get a little bit more enjoyment out of it. The overall bowl moisture, overall, pretty much didn't have to resort to any pipe cleaners. So every once in a while, maybe, but probably more the fact that it burned quickly and a little bit more warm. The bowl moisture, for me at least, was almost not detectable. The ash itself, it's a little bit more of a darker gray to almost black ash. Um, and the dottle is probably a little bit more than average. So I guess everyone's mileage is a little bit different, but ending up on the room note here, the room note is definitely leaning more towards the tolerable, if not pleasant side. Coming home, coming out to smoke a bowl in the studio here, smoked it pretty much all this week except for a bowl of Squadron Leader during Mike's live broadcast on Thursday night. But overall, coming into the studio and smelling the room note from smoking this all week was quite pleasurable. So those are my ratings. Let's head back inside here to close out the review. And there you have it. Peterson's Irish Oak. It's a very good blend. I was actually very impressed. I'm always skittish a little bit when it comes to the hint of or any type of aromatic blend, which is ironic here, and I'll show you why in a second. But in smoking this, I mentioned this before on the first impressions last week, that this was very, or remind me of Escudo right off the bat. But as the week went along and really got into the nuance later in the bowl, it more reminded me of a lighter version of Peterson's Elizabethan mixture. So, going back to the first impressions again, just to close this out, one of the, or actually two of the notes that stood out to me again were in some of the reviews that I've done. These are blends that a lot of people seem to have not tried yet before. So this is part of the reason why I choose some of these blends to try and get some of the not so common ones out there to get you to try. And again, it's ironic because in the first impressions that I'm going to do tomorrow, it's going to be for Samuel Gawith's Sam's Flake. So this is an aromatic, but as many of you already know, I am a Samuel Gawith fanboy. Put it straight simple. I've got boatloads of SG in the Skiff mixture, Perfection, Navy Flake. I've literally got pounds of the Squadron Leader just sitting in the cellar downstairs. So overall, I really feel that this is really more of a light vapor, and it turns more, I don't know if this is a coin phrase, but vapor, more Virginia burley in the second part of the bowl. It's not for beginner smokers. If you're just getting into pipe smoking, this again has a higher nicotine content. Even who is a little bit more familiar with Oscar the Grouch, this on occasion during the week got me even a little bit lightheaded. So take it easy with this blend. It's something that you definitely want to take your time with. It does burn very quickly and tends to get hot, and it will bite you if you're not careful. But overall, I gave this a 4 out of 5 stars, even though I really did enjoy this blend. I am not a Burley fan, and towards the end of the bowl, it started giving off, and especially after the bowl, that cigarette-esque aftertaste, if you will. So I really gave it 4 stars, but I could see where many people do like this blend. But overall, as a tobacco, I definitely give it 5 stars. If you haven't tried Peterson's blends, you're really missing out. They do a fantastic job at STG and manufacturing this. They are all great blends. I really haven't come across anything that I didn't like when it comes to Peterson. So, again, that's the full review for Irish Oak. Tomorrow, I will be recording the first impressions for Samuel Goth's Sam's Flake. As always, if you like these videos, give it a thumbs up. Subscribe if you haven't done so already. Have a great weekend, everyone. I'll see you on my next episode. Take care.